Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another live hangout. The first live hangout of the second half of 2024. So good to be with you. I have been on holidays, as Dean was just asked. I think it was Dean. Was it Dean asking, thinking that I was still on holidays? But no, I'm back. I'm back. I had 1 week vacation and then 1 week where I come back to the studio, do a whole heap of batch video shooting in preparation for new videos that won't come out until 2025. Yeah, that's how far I try to stay ahead of things. So did a whole heap of that. But I'm feeling refreshed, which is great. As many of you know, I went skiing, and we had a great time. It was my wife and my youngest child, Taran, who loves skiing as much as I do. And it was here in Australia. Our ski season is firstly very short, and secondly, because we go so early in the season, we're always challenged by how much snow we will have. But we had limited terrain, but pretty good coverage on the limited terrain, if that makes sense. For those of you who ski, you'll know what I mean. But the best part was there was hardly anyone there. Not great for the resorts, but great for us. It meant that I reckon I did at least twice the amount of skiing that I would normally do in a week, just simply because we were doing a run and then skiing straight onto the lift. No wait, like literally no waiting. So we actually had to pace ourselves because we were like, my thighs were just burning. They normally do get to a point of burning like late in the afternoon, but they were burning by lunch. Anyway, it was good fun. I had a good time. And as a result, I am just feeling particularly refreshed. I think that in part speaks to just how much I love skiing. So good. So we're coming back for the second half of the year. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, many of you are in the midst of your summer holidays, and you are starting to mentally get ready for a brand new educational year starting probably in August, I would dare say. But here in Australia, we're kind of already in the thick of things, and our second semester will see the completion of our educational year. So yeah, I've got some things that some cool things that are coming up. I've got a chapter to write for a book. I've been asked to write a chapter for a book about teaching online. And as many of you know, I teach a lot online, and quite a number of you here in. I can see Linda, I can see Kelly, I can see Alyssa Plays. All of these people are my students currently, so in the chat. And so yeah, you can I do a bit, and so yeah, there we go. Coming up here on the live show, I'm running a poll. Have you seen the poll that we're running in the chat there? I just thought, I wonder where people are at with the content of the channel. And it was cool to see some of you say you wished you could have clicked every single one of those poll points. You do have to only click one, unfortunately. But yeah, I was just interested to see, where are you getting the most value out of the channel? I'm not looking to change anything, because I think that everyone interacts with the channel differently. But I was just interested to learn what you're getting out of the channel and where you get the most out of the channel. And I think it's sometimes just good for me to check in with you, which is good to do. And I've just also posted on the Facebook page, the Voice Essentials community Facebook page, If you're not a part of it, please become a part of it. It's a great community of singers. And I've just asked the question, what are you going to be doing with your voice? What is your main focus with your voice in the second half of this year? And I'd love to interact with you and get to understand what is it that you're looking to get out of your voice as we sort of are on the downhill slope. You see how I tied the skiing thing in there? Yeah, you can do that over on the Facebook community page. Next week, today we're doing a Q&A. And once again, frustratingly, for me, probably more so than for you, but I can't put your questions up on screen again because the software, I've put in another support ticket. The software's still not interacting with YouTube correctly. The software that I use to stream with. Anyway, it just does. The only thing that it's not doing properly is being able to put that question up on screen. But you can put your questions into the chat, as Linda has suggested, and she will grab those questions. She puts it into a live document for me, and I can see the questions. If you want your question sort of VIP'd, bumped up the list, please put a super chat in. Or if you just want to support the channel, look, your support of the channel is highly valued. First and foremost, in just coming along and attending the live show, that's a big plus. This would be a boring show if it was just me, but because it's all of us together, I think it's a little bit more than boring. And certainly, here's a hint, certainly our poll would suggest that that's the case. I'll tell you the results of the poll a little later. If you haven't voted, 13 of you have voted already. If you haven't voted, please blah, 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 please make a vote. And so that's what we're doing here. We're doing Q&A today. Next week, we've got Dr. Shannon Coates, a longtime friend of me personally, but also of us here at the channel. She's been on the show many times, and I keep getting her back because so many of you enjoy, what she has to say. She's from Canada. Yay for all the Canadians. And next week, we're going to be talking about how to enhance your learning. And you might think to yourself, that sounds like, eating dry bickies. No, time is short, isn't it? Like our time that we have in life in general is limited. Like we're all time poor, it seems, in the modern age. And so you want to get the absolute most out of your voice practice that you can when you do manage to wedge out some time in your day and in your week for the practice so that you're getting the most out of it and you're developing the most out of it. And so Dr. Shannon is a highly esteemed and respected pedagogue, a voice, and so we're going to talk about that because I really want you to get the most out of your time. We've got some questions coming in, and we've still only got the 13 votes. Come on, people! I want more votes. Let me know where are you at with the video formats. If you're asking yourself what does he mean by video formats on the poll, here at Voice Essentials, I try to actually create a number of different formats on the channel to engage with people on various levels for various different reasons. And so we do the weekly instructional videos. They come out on a Wednesday. Well, this is all Brisbane, Australia, Brisbane time. They come out on a Wednesday. They come out at midnight on a Tuesday. Does that make sense? Midnight on a Tuesday, which is actually Wednesday morning. And they are generally pre-recorded, or they're the edit of the live show with the guest, and it's typically very focused on a particular topic. And they really are what most people go searching for on what will be sort of presented to them for a search on YouTube. But then we have our reaction and analysis videos, which I started doing this time last year, and I've already done over 100 of them. And they're proving to be very popular with a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. Some because they just like to troll, but anyway, they're an interesting format. Then we also have this live show, which is a different format again, and I also then edit those live shows down so that we get snippets, particularly of live guests, when they talk to a very specific point for a very specific, 5 to 10 minutes, and that's of high value. So that's what I mean by different formats. And mate, I've just seen Dean's super chat. Dean, thank you very much, and thank you for letting me saying thank you and for the super chat. I love it. What I'm doing here is hang on a second. I'm trying to, hang on, don't do that. Oh, go away. I'm clicking on things here because it's giving me a whole heap of, no, I don't want to do that. I'm clicking on, I loved that. Can you see I've put the love in there? I hope you can see that, Dean. Thanks, mate. I appreciate the contribution to the channel. Very much appreciated. Okay, let's get into some questions. I'm just going to quickly check. We've still only got the 13 votes. We want some more votes before I give you the results of the. Let's aim for 20 votes on the poll. 14 votes. Oh, 15. That's good. I love it. Okay, we're aiming for 20 votes. We're aiming for 20 votes. That would be awesome. It's saying here, it's saying let's celebrate their first super chat on live stream. I've tried to. That's what I've tried to do for you, Dean. Sorry, I'm looking at my end. Oh, you can see. Oh, no, you can see that. See that just to my left? It's actually my right. But anyway. Let's go to. You can tell I've had 2 weeks off, right? Let's go to Alex's question. Hey, Dr. Dan, my teacher has been having me use a flow ball to manage my airflow. And if by flow ball, is that typically the one that's used by pulmonologists? I dare say it is. He says to use the 2-inch rule through your entire range. I thought at some point in your range you should use less air. It's not only going to be range that determines that your airflow changes, but also your dynamic. And so the airflow is never rigidly constant. It can't be. What we do aim for is reduced phonatory threshold pressure, so not wanting to push and load the larynx, but we're wanting a consistent, and when I use the word consistent, I'm not thinking of like rigidly exactly the same constantly, even though I am using the word consistently, consistent phonatory threshold flow. And so we want an evenness in our airflow. We don't want the airflow to be disrupted or sort of waning off. And so that's something for you to consider, Alex. I would, I'm often given to, it's funny because people often on the channel, they'll say, oh, my teacher's getting me to do X, Y, and Z. Is that right? And sometimes on the surface of it, it may not be what I would instruct. But sometimes there are those occasions where your teacher is giving you an activity to do because they know your voice, certainly better than I do, because often I don't get to hear you sing, preemptively prior to the question being asked. And And so what happens is we don't have time. I can't. Sometimes another way to put this. Sometimes I give students an activity to do, and I'll even say to them, "This is not what I would normally ask a student to do, but for this particular activity, we're going to put the rule book aside and we're going to do this." And if, on the surface of it, another singing teacher came in and said, "What on earth are you doing?" Then I would have to explain, this is why we're doing that. And we're going to be doing it for perhaps a limited time and for a very specific result. So it's always important to, if you do have doubts around what your teacher is asking you to do, ask for further clarification and for, further justification. Always remember that you as the student, it is your voice, and your voice is going to be the final voice, excuse the pun, on what is right or wrong for what your voice is being asked to do. Now, sometimes an activity that you're trying to work on, you may be doing it inaccurately, inefficiently, ineffectively, and so there's some adjustments. But if a teacher is asking you to do, and it's something, and it's hurting, in your practice time, make sure firstly stop, go back, ask for further clarification. And if after the further clarification you still can't get it right, then maybe it's an opportunity for you to request respectfully that you move on to something else. You don't abandon a teacher after one activity. That's, give them opportunity to continue working with you and to clarify and to adjust and those sorts of things. We're up to 16 votes. We need 4 more before I reveal all. I know you're just desperate to know. to know. Kelly, excuse me. My vocal stamina, my voice is fine, but in a moment I'm going to answer Kelly's question. Then I'm going to come back and 3 weeks ago, I said I was going to walk you through how I managed my compromised voice, and then I never did. So after Kelly's question, I'm going to come back and we're going to do that. We're going to talk to what I did with my compromised voice 4 weeks ago and how I managed it in a performance scenario, because I think that's important for us to know. Kelly, I thought the picture you posted of snow on the car was so funny. Did you post it for your Canadian? Okay, so not so much a question, Kelly, as a comment. A cheeky comment, if I might. For those of you, I today on my personal Facebook page, it wasn't actually a photo of snow, Kelly. It was a photo of frost, and on that particular morning, it was the second morning, which was going to be the first morning of our skiing. We always stay down the mountain for the skiing, and we stay in a place called Jindabyne, and lovely little sort of skiing village, and and on this particular morning it was -8. Apparently it felt like -14. It was even for Jindabyne, that's pretty cold. At this time of year, it gets colder sort of towards August. But for when we were there, and it had a significant frost, Kelly. I at no point did I say on that photo that it was snow. It wasn't. It was frost, and that was a significant frost. Just saying. I know I can't compete with Canadians for snowfall. It's just not on. I still remember when I went to Tokyo, to Japan to ski. The only place I've skied outside of Australia is Hakuba in Japan, and I still remember it was actually on the day we left, and they started to have a really significant snowfall. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, this is what real snowfall, like heavy snowfall, looks like. I've been skiing since I was a teenager, and I'd never seen snowfall like it before. Because in Australia, it's our snowfall is very different to other places in the world. We here in Australia we get a very wet snow, whereas in Japan it was this really dry, light. I'm moving on. Let's talk about compromised voice. How many? We've got 17 votes. 17 votes, peeps. We've got 3 more to go before we reveal what I must say to you right now. I'm pleasantly surprised by the current poll numbers. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you what they are yet. We'll get there. 4 weeks ago, and this is me making up for what I said I'd do 3 weeks ago and didn't. 4 weeks ago, I had what I would describe as a compromised voice. I knew it wasn't a damaged voice. It wasn't I wasn't sick in so much as, I didn't have your typical cold and flu, but I was having quite a bit of congestion. I honestly, looking back, and maybe from today looking back, I can't remember what really brought about that congestion. It might have been cold air, us moving into a different part of the season. I can't remember. But I did have quite a bit of chest congestion, and so I was taking a tablet to help break that congestion up. The tablet was a bisolven tablet. The effect on my voice, I'm not 100% certain of this, but I think that the effect on my voice, whether it was from the pharmaceutical or from the fact that my voice was having to cope with the clearing of the gunk that the pharmaceutical was causing, the end result was my voice was quite heavily, impacted. But I didn't know it was heavily impacted until the very morning that I was going to be leading songs at my local church. The nature of our local church is I'm it. When I'm rostered on, there is no one else. It's just me and a guitar. And there's no one else to replace me. And so the circumstance required me, as often does for professional singers, required me to actually do the gig. The difficulty of that was I knew my voice was in a compromised state. So I did all of the things that I teach you to do, and I'm just going to talk you through them again briefly. 18 votes. We're up to 18 votes. All of the things I know to do, so first of all, I did some light humming in a hot, steamy shower, first thing that I got up. And that was in part, I would normally do that anyway, and that was what revealed to me, things aren't great. Okay, let's see where this goes from there. I then got to the church, did the bump in, started to use my nebulizer before and during my warm up. So I was trying to get some superficial hydration onto the level of the vocal folds to help to lubricate them, to help to get them moving. And then I really spent quite a bit longer than I normally would, very slowly, very gently warming the voice into a semblance of usage. Let's put it that way. It was by no means anywhere near what I would normally these days I comfortably can work over a 2.5 octave range. you know, and that's back in my 20s and 30s. It was, you know, when I was really working vocally, I was, you know, up in the 3.5. But these days I comfortably and very contentedly work with 2.5 octaves. And but I was very much back to 1.5. Like, it really had, when I say my voice is compromised, it was compromised by, you know, at least 40% off. And so what I did was I just allowed the voice to sort of get to that point. And then at the beginning of the service, I made the decision to tell this situation that I was in. You can't always do this because the circumstance and the situation you're performing in may not always allow for it. But in my circumstance, I was able to say to the congregation, the people there who would normally sing along with me anyway, I told them, I said, hey, not in great voice today. So in doing this, I'm taking the pressure off myself for it to be anything other than how I framed it. And that is just letting you all know I'm not in great voice today. I am going to be leaning on you to sing so much more than I normally would. And I hope that they sing along anyway. That's the idea of congregational singing. And so, you know, that also then gave me permission. There were verses and sometimes some choruses that we were singing where I just stepped away and just kept playing, because I'm playing guitar while I'm doing this. And I played and I allowed the congregational voice to lead the vocal, therefore giving my voice that much needed rest. I did have one moment towards the very end of the service where I you know, tested the water a little bit more than I should have, and my voice actually cracked, like it actually and my daughter was laughing very heavily in the, because she was in the congregation at the time. I don't think she'd ever heard me have such an audible slip up vocally. And but I was able to smile it off. Everyone knew that was kind of potentially on the cards because of the way I'd framed it. And then after that, then I did a really intentional warm down, and I did more steaming, and followed by very intentional reduction of vocal use straight after. And that after bit, that warm down, steaming, and vocal rest, so many challenges for singers who have to use their voice in similar circumstances. So many challenges can be avoided when the voice is given that opportunity to rest. The first and the better option is to not sing. But as we've discussed here many times on the channel, that's not always an option, particularly for working singers. For a lot of church singers, it is an option to not sing. For a lot of you, you're stepping onto stage with other singers, and if your voice is not there for a particular morning, nothing's going to be lost. And so, you know, had I been in that circumstance, I probably would have rung the music director or whatever and said, hey, look, this morning I can only play, I can't sing. And that would have been fine, but my circumstance required that I front up. But I managed the voice. The reason I'm talking you through this is because I wanted to talk you through a real life circumstance that I had to work through. These are not, you know, high in the sky ideas. These are very practical, very normal, circumstantial happenings that happen to all of us. And I want to encourage you to make the right choices in accordance with what you need to do, not with what you want to do, what you need to do. What I needed to do was sing, but it may well be in your circumstance that you might want to sing, but you might need to not sing. Anyway, I just wanted to follow up on that because, as I said, 4 weeks ago, I said I would talk about it and then I didn't. We're at 18 votes. We need 2 more votes. Please, get us over the line. 20 votes. We need 20 votes. I mean, of course I will reveal. I will reveal what the results are if we don't get to 20 votes, but it would be kind of cool to get to 20. Okay, Walt has asked, I'm a 40-year-old pro-level vocalist. Cool. Oh, no, sorry. I'm a 40-year pro-level vocalist. At 59, what would be the best approach to getting the most range out of my voice? In one sense, Walt, I like the orientation of your question. And that is, you're acknowledging your age. And we have to work within the framework of our biology. Like I just said, these days, I comfortably, contentedly work over about a 2.5 octave. It might be a bit more than that, but I'm generally comfortable being able to work with 2.5 octaves of range. And do you know what? Most singers can be content with working with 1.5 to 2 octaves, really. This high fashion online of, being able to sing 7 octaves, it's cool, and some singers make a big happening of it. 19 votes, a big happening of it, of being able to sing wide range. But in general, it's unnecessary for the vast majority of repertoire. So that aside, we're working within the anatomy, the age of our voice as much as the biology. Our biology is aging. And so where, 20 years ago I was singing over 3.5, and if I'd continued on the trajectory of my professional performance career, I almost certainly could keep that up until I got to my late 60s. But I would have to anticipate some deterioration in the elasticity and the ligaments to maintain that over time. That all being said, we come back to the fact that you're 59, you've been doing this for 40 years at a pro level. Getting the most out of your range is driven 20 votes. We just got to 20 votes. I'll go to the answer in a moment. Let me finish responding to Walt. Sorry, I just got distracted by the 20 votes. You have to. We want Walt, for you to use it or lose it, and I want you to keep working your range. I was having my PT session this morning. Actually, step further back, while we were away on holidays, my daughter and my wife Jody were having a discussion at one of our rest stops. We're having a discussion about the ability to bend over and touch their toes, and we were talking about the fact that women are generally more flexible than men physiologically. And I was reminded of that conversation this morning when I watched my PT, my personal trainer, bend over and touch his toes. And my personal trainer, who is my age, is an impressive athlete. And I thought, wow, that goes to the recognition that whilst women are typically physiologically more able and more bendable, able to stretch more than men, that's not to say that men can't, really work their bodies, but you've got to work harder for it, guys. And so we've got to always come back to this idea that we've got to work our body, work, in this case, work our range, work our voice towards the goals that we are setting, realistic goals. You know, for a guy to decide they want to become, if they're a baritone, they want to become a tenor. We've talked about this many times. That's not a realistic goal. You're not working within your, you know, dictated, your DNA dictated range. And so you've got to be mindful of that. But yeah, continue to workshop your voice. At the age of 59, we don't expect currently I think the general consensus amongst voice scientists is we shouldn't expect to see significant degradation of the voice for until your 70s. So, you know, Walt, keep going, keep using it, keep stretching the voice. Okay, we're going to come. And we got to 21 votes, people. Here it is. If I was super fancy in my live shows, I'd have a drum roll, but I don't have one. You could start making a drum roll now if you like. But here we go. We're ending the poll, and the results are in. There we go. Which format? So weekly instruction. This is where I was pleasantly surprised. The weekly instruction videos, pretty much 40%, 50% of you get the most out of those. The reaction and analysis videos, 23. That, in one sense, that poll result didn't surprise me, because I find that the reaction videos, you let me know what is it that if you ticked the reaction videos, let me know what you, in fact, you could all, you know, depending on what you did or didn't tick, tell me what is it that you get. Oh, Rebecca Martin put in I see the emoticons there, Rebecca. I love it. Depending on what you voted for, tell me what is it that you get out of those videos, because the reaction and analysis videos don't tend to be, certainly by the algorithm, put in front of the eyeballs of a lot of my, you know, sort of channel members, if you will. They tend to go out to the fans of those artists, I'm finding, for the most part. But I am glad to see that, you know, a quarter of you are enjoying the live show as well, which is cool. Yeah, there we go. Thanks for your feedback, everyone. Again, I did not ask the question with any design around it becoming anything other than what we already do. I was just interested. There you go. Rebecca, actually, well, it's fitting, Rebecca, that you get the next question, because you put the drum roll in. Rebecca's asked, have you ever considered having Brett Manning on your show from his channel Singing Success? No, Rebecca, I haven't. Firstly, I don't know that Brett Manning would know who I was from Adam. And secondly, Brett probably comes at voice from a slightly different angle than I do. You'll notice that for the most part, the people I have on my channel as guests are academia singing teachers, if you will. What I try to bring to you here on the channel is a really high level of evidence-based, research-supported pedagogy. And not everything we find online can tick those boxes. And so this is why, you know, often, not always, but often you'll see, that's like we'll see next week, often my guests have doctor or professor in front of their name. And I'm not trying to be highfalutin with that. What I'm trying to bring you is a really high level, like the highest level of education that I possibly can. And so I haven't always got that right. There's I haven't always got that right, but you know, and I also have to, you know, like I said, I don't think Brett would know who I am. So you know, if he got an email from me asking him to come onto my channel, he'd probably go, who is this? It'd probably end up in his spam folder. Coming down to, oh wow, I've just seen how many questions there are. People, we're not going to get through all of these. So I'm only going to get through one more question, I think. And it's going to go to Bradley. Bradley Monroe Music. Hi, Dr. Dan. I was going to use my singing voice for the rest of the year doing my original songs. And these songs cover a range down to G2 and up to about C5 or above. How can I maintain this range? Look, the way you're going to maintain that range, Bradley, is by choosing songs, writing songs, because you say you're wanting to do original songs, which, can I say, and with no word of a lie, I love it when my students bring in them original material. I just really do. You know, it's surprising how more often than not how good the songs are. And so I you know, hat off to you, Bradley, that you're writing your own stuff. So try to write material that's going to work that range. Can I also encourage you, Bradley, make sure that you take the opportunity to work with material that is not your own. Don't only do original, particularly, let's talk to this point, particularly if you are concerned that your original material is not going to require of your voice the same challenge that you may be used to. So give that some thought. But I think it's great that you're working your own stuff. Yeah. It really is, you know, we said this before to Walt. It's a case of use it or lose it. It's you and you'll notice this, like I said a little bit earlier. You know, I haven't done any singing for 2 weeks. I took a complete break, and you know, I really needed it. But in doing so, I feel really refreshed and I'm ready to go. But as a result, that 2 weeks off, I feel that degradation in my vocal stamina and vocal condition. It'll only take a week or two to get it back up to what it was, you know, 3 weeks ago. But it took it, you know, that period of that rest, that extended period of vocal non-use has an impact. And so we see even in that little scenario the impact of the use it or lose it. And so you've got to keep using it. Don't use it or lose it, you know, at all costs. You know, there are going to be times over the next 6 months, Bradley, that your voice is not in great condition because you're sick. A number of my students and friends actually here in Australia at the moment have had COVID. You know, don't sing, you know, directly after COVID or during COVID. You know, be attentive to your vocal condition and make your judgments based on that. But apart from that, you know, use it or lose it. Okay, we got time for one more question. Dorothy's going to get a question in. And then the other questions, I'm sorry, everyone, but we're going to have to push those to the next Q&A, which will be in a couple of weeks. Dorothy is saying, hello, what would you recommend for a good breath management exercise for singing? Dorothy, please go and check out the Voice Essentials online courses. We go into breath management in such a detailed way. But equally, I have some of my instructional videos here on the channel, on the Dr. Dan's Voice Essentials channel. There are dedicated instructional videos for breath management. And so, Dorothy, I want to encourage you to go and check those out because you are going to get so much value out of those. Breath management is a slow burn in the development thereof. You've got to really work with it for an extended period of time. Dedicate yourself to the practice of it over months, and you'll see the value of it in your singing. I'm just reading here some comments before we finish up. Dean is saying there at the end, reaction videos are enjoyable, and the analysis teaches me why I enjoy styles and singers since I'm just a listener and don't have the background music. Cool. This is why we do them. I think the reaction videos have proven to be educational and instructional, but they are different to the weekly instructional videos, if you get that. So good. I mean, wow, we had some really, really strong discussion today in the chat, which was fantastic. Great to get back into it. Like, I am feeling pumped for the second half of the year. I really am. And thanks for jumping in and coming back. And it's funny, I've been doing this live show for I don't know how long. Has it been 8 or 9 years, Linda? Something crazy like that. And I still get nervous after I take a break, you know, even as short as 2 weeks, there'll be anyone chime in. It's crazy, isn't it? But you all do. You all still come, and I love hanging out with you. Thanks for being so active in the chat. Thanks for coming along and joining in. Next week, Dr. Shannon Coates. Linda is saying this is the 9th year. Can you? So that means, does that mean that next year we'll have been doing the live show for 10 years? Wow. Next week we've got Dr. Shannon Coates coming on. As I said, put that in your diaries. It's going to be a great discussion. She is a leading expert in, you know, the area of learning to sing. She's got so many valuable things to teach us in enhancing your learning. Get the most bang out of your buck when it comes to your voice. And I've just seen hello Karen from SingWise. I've just seen you say I've taken a very long break from doing live streams. Yeah, well, we do take these breaks. I've just taken 2 weeks off SingWise, Karen, and we always take December, January off too. We take the 2 months off every year, which I think is important. You know, it's important to have that downtime. Anyway, I've enjoyed today. I hope you've enjoyed today. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you've enjoyed the hangout, and I very much look forward to seeing you again next week when we'll do it all again with Dr. Shannon Coates. I'll look forward to seeing you then. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.